of that is way too extra. Stick to the recipe, and whatever you do, don't bring up Hulu.
Yes, chef.
I'm Grant from Screen Rant. So good to see and talk to everyone again. This show just continues to be fantastic. First question is for all of you. Mike, if you'd like start, then Josh and Sydney. I loved how much Terry and Korvo's marriage plays into this season's stories, whether it be their honeymoon or, you know, finding ways to communicate that they're gonna work through everything together. I'd love to hear from all of you how you went about, you know, determining that you wanted to incorporate that more into this season's stories in comparison to the past.
You know, we were finding that having them not be married was actually hindering the kind of stories we wanted to tell. And we felt like we had done a lot of stories where, you know, these guys have clearly been queer and in love for a long time, but just like the way they defined it was something that they had to learn that they could do. You know, there's no marriage on Schlorp. They had to kind of learn about that and more than a surface level. So, you know, the Valentine's Day episode leading into the season was so freeing for the writing process because we had two big rules after that. So right, especially for Korvo, like that the two big rules were, now that they're married and this feels so good, let's tell stories about that. But the one type of story we can't tell is threatening to break them up. We didn't want to have people be like, oh, we're given this and it feels right and we love to see them be in love. And we didn't want to threaten that all the time. Oh, they might be getting a divorce. Like that was off the table. Like they're going to be married from here on out because it feels great to write stories about that. And that's like a natural thing, you know, when you think about like The Simpsons, like even when they threaten divorce, like, you know, they're not going to, but because ours was so new, it was really important that we didn't threaten that. And then just to really, really let them be horny for each other. Just let them be so horned up and just hot to trot because it just feels right for these characters. And it's so funny hearing like Dan Stevens' voice saying the nastiest, horniest alien stuff. Like it just brings me a lot of joy. So it was really cool to do this season and have it feel like how it's always felt, but really codify it and just let it be a special part about the show and then do crazy stuff around that.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I would add is going back to the Valentine's Day episode, when we were talking about, we love doing, holiday specials, and we love the idea of doing a holiday special, a Valentine's Day special, but you don't normally see big, huge, groundbreaking, series-changing moments in specials. And so we really love, once we got to the end that they were going to get married in the Valentine's Day special, and then it would affect the show moving forward. We love that because it's something that we always try to do is subverting storytelling, right? Is nobody watched the Valentine's Day special expecting the two main characters to get married. And so that was something that we really, really, really loved doing. And I also think it softens Korvo's character because it gives him, they're never going to break up, but he's constantly worried that Terry's going to leave him. And so we loved that as a sort of a new shadow for his character as well.
Yeah, I just love, as a non-writer, I love seeing Korvo and Terry's relationship evolve and like them getting to go on a honeymoon together and just seeing how comfortable they are in their relationship. Like they have a really nice rapport, and it's sweet to see how their love has progressed since season 1.
I love that you have that rule of no divorce because it really is such a fresh thing to see these married couples work through stuff together. And I also love that I do see Korvo softening a little bit, but it makes that evolution so much more rewarding. Speaking of evolutions, another big one we had this season is The Wall. I love that each new season tackles a different subgenre, and yet this one has like 3 wrapped into one. You've got Chinatown you kept poking fun at, you got Dune, you've got Westerns. And from all of you, I'd love to hear sort of about that evolution in that direction, as well as just finally getting to tackle the backyard in comparison to only The Wall.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mike. No, I was just gonna say, we teased it a little bit in the one season with Sherry and the Duke in the backyard. But I think as we started talking about season 5 so long ago now, we really felt like we've done so much in The Wall, and we will come back to The Wall in season 6. In fact, season 5 is an entire setup to going back to The Wall in season 6. But it just felt a chance to expand our little world, if you will. And we loved the idea of these little people being out of the wall and in the backyard. And also, we do a different genre every year, and we really wanted to do like you said, like I call it, it's a Western. It's like it's like Silverado meets Chinatown meets The Last of Us is the way I've been describing it. No one's asked me to describe it that way, but I am describing it that way. And so I think that was really important for us. And the only other thing I'll add is that our board artists and designers and everyone on our production team, when we come to them with the craziest, hugest, biggest asks, and they always make it better and always come to play. And they did an amazing job with the backyard this year.
I think about Robert Kirkman's original pitch for the Walking Dead comics, which when they were first coming out, I just blew me away because I grew up watching the original of the Deads, like Dawn of the Dead, and Night of the Living Dead and all that. And his original pitch was, what if it's a zombie movie that just never ends, right? And the idea that we started first season of Solar Opposites with little people being put in the wall, and it's like a War of the Roses that's also kind of an escape from New York, and that we would ultimately end up with a creature feature and all these different people trying to take over, and last season we did a Tinker Tailor Soldier Spy wall in the wall story with a religious kind of coup, and that this season would be that small city states have been formed on the frontier of the backyard, the identity of the backyard, which Josh is right, we had set up before, that they were always pushing forward with the genre, but that we still want there to be comedy and we want there to be like crazy stakes. And it's always such a joy to write, and it's always a great balance from the Solar story being like that Terry gets his foot stuck in a toilet, and that then you go to the wall side of it and it's like, oh, capitalism is another way to be a fascist in some ways. You know what I mean? Like that those two stories can live in the same show feels like that crazy kind of like, a bunch of different, it's like a basket of Halloween candy where you never know what you're going to get. There's all these things that kind of are existing at the same time. And it's just a blast to do every season. And Josh is right. It's leading into another season of The Wall in season 6. That's like maybe our best yet, and really brings back dynamics from the very first season. So it'll be a huge reward for people who have been watching this whole time.
Yeah, I love that we kind of go into the backyard this season and shake it all up. And then, season 6 will be back in The Wall. But like the drama of The Wall is so epic that it pairs so nicely with the Solar silliness and goofiness that like without each other, they play so nicely off of each other. It's fun to watch. But I love seeing just like the art. Like the artists really have fun being like, okay, what could they use to make this cart to go across the backyard? And what could we use to do this? So the artists have a lot of fun with it. And they did an incredible job on creating a whole new world in the backyard.
Also, Clancy Brown, Charlotte Nickdow, You know what I mean? Like we've got all these stars that are awesome to get to work with, and we get to have them be dramatic and say funny stuff. The Wall is just really fun to write.
It's such an incredible storyline to watch, and I really can't wait to see where it goes in season 6, because that ending twist, or actually 2 ending twists, really got me emotional. I was like,
the music is crazy
back,
right then. Yeah.
I was like, you're back. Oh, you're turning dark. I don't know how I feel about this. I got to see how it goes. I see I'm almost out of time. So before I let you all go, you mentioned Clancy Brown and Charlotte Nickdow, but we've also talked before about sci-fi legends being guest stars in this show. And this season, you've got Stephen Lang as this sort of army training camp type guy. I'd love to hear from all of you about working with him and sort of developing that character with him. He's obviously played similar roles before, but what was it like finding a joint vision for that character with him?
I mean, the guy's the real deal. He's such a strong and talented actor. Like, I think almost for us working with Steven was like having a Maserati and going the speed limit. You know what I mean? Like, because he's so good at that he just had to do a comedic version of it. And in those Silver Cops episodes as well, we had Jack Quaid back, and because Jack's a huge fan of Solar Opposites, and he plays such a different role than he does on Lower Decks in this. And Silver Cops, like The Wall, gets us outside of our usual kind of like team of players, and we get to work with like Kieran Culkin and just all these voices that you kind of don't expect to be coming in and texturizing the show. And honestly, like, these are like the folks we work with on this show are like some of our best actors, and they all have a blast working with us because they get to have more fun. like they get to say crazier, dumber, sillier shit and get big laughs that like usually don't get to go to serious actors, you know? And that, especially Steven with that, was like really fun to get to do.
And then Josh and Sydney, do you have anything to add about working with Steven?
No, I mean, I'm just a huge fan. I didn't get to record him, Mike did, but I'm a huge fan of everything. And so just to be able to have someone with that gravitas in that role saying the stupidest things. And the best thing about that is that Ron Funches plays the little, his second head. And obviously in animation, you don't record them together, but they play off each other so well. Like Steven is so serious and has so much gravitas, and Ron is so funny that to me was the funniest dynamic. That's like one of my favorite relationships, those two.
Yeah, it's just fun. Like our casting department, we have a really fun time casting these shows and playing around with actors from all these different genres. But like getting to work with Christina Hendricks and Tiffany Haddish and all these amazing people, in addition to our incredible main cast, it's really fun.
It really is so amazing to see all these, like you say, serious actors getting to just let loose and play these wacky characters and dialogue. And I can't wait to see who you've got lined up for season 6, because I'm sure you've got some more exciting names. But in the meantime, I really look forward to getting the word out about season 5. You all done
Thank you so much.
So,
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys, for taking the time. I so greatly appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Grant.
Gonna do a Blue Man Group-inspired performance of the Clarvixian Planetary Anthem.
No, that's too extra. Also, why are you red?
Yeah, since I'm blue already, I went with the opposite color on the spectrum.